We apologize for any background noise that you might hear during the duration of the podcast. We're still new to this and we're trying our best. Please enjoy the show. Hello, welcome back. We are back by popular demand.
6 people wanted this to happen again.
6 people said, damn, there's nothing I want to hear more than 2 lovely ladies talk about shrubbery erotica. We're crossing our fingers that we can double our viewership for this episode.
It's a great episode, I think.
Episode 2.
Return of History. I couldn't think of anything better.
I like it. In case you've forgotten from last time, I'm Alyssa.
And I'm Kelsey.
I am a history person.
And I'm learning.
She's in remission from science, and she's coming on to the sweet, sweet drug of history.
Yeah, I'm needing to learn because I don't know much history, so.
And that's
this
okay.
Is good.
I'm educating you.
One step at a time.
Slowly but surely. I am your Brita filter, and I'm filtering that history for you.
Fantastic.
You're very welcome.
Okay, so what are we talking about today?
So, again, Kelsey asked me another fantastic question about, so we're from Canada, and in Canada, if you raise your middle finger towards someone, that's called flipping them off, and it's a very rude gesture. But in the UK, there's something a little bit different, and it's called the 2-finger salute.
Woo! Woo! And I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, woo. You can't, it's perfect for podcasting. Show them what it is, Kelsey.
Yeah, okay, everyone. Perfect. 10 out of 10 display.
So, essentially what you're doing is you're doing the opposite of a peace sign. So, peace sign, your wrist is facing towards someone else. For a 2-finger salute, your wrist is facing towards yourself. And then you have your index and middle finger raised. And then you normally raise it up towards your face or up towards the air.
Usually in
anger.
Anger gesture.
Like, yeah, like, fuck you. So, Kelsey was asking me about that because there is a story that goes around.
I had a theory.
Would you like to express your theory?
Well, I don't know if it's right. That's why I had my question.
Yeah, but tell them what exactly your question was.
Well, I was wanting to know the origin because I, for some reason, speculated that had something to do with a war between French and English people. And one of the sides, I don't know which one, when they captured someone who shoots arrows, what are they called?
Longbowmen? Archers?
Archers, yeah. They would cut off their fingers, and so that when the other team would walk past, they would hold up their fingers because they had some, and the other people didn't. So it was like, haha.
I love how you're describing it as like a team sport. Like, there's one team and then the other team.
Like, man, I'm gonna shoot you. The guy's like, no, we're gonna cut your fingers off and then wave it in your face that you don't have any.
Yeah. So you were pretty accurate this time.
It happens once in a while.
It's pretty exciting. So, as we were talking about, the 2-finger salute, was a supposed gesture that was made by longbowmen who were fighting in the Battle of Agincourt, which was during the 100 Years' War, which was the war between the French and the British.
Ooh.
Unfortunately...
Oh god, this is where it falls apart.
We have no primary sources that can reinforce that
I'll
this
be a primary
actually...
source.
Do you know what a primary source is?
No.
I'm briefly going to explain
Obviously
this.
not.
Because throughout the podcast will probably come up. So a primary source is something that was written at the time period of the thing that we're talking about. So if we had like a notebook from a longbowman who was at this battle who said that this happened, that would be a primary source. But
he couldn't write it down. He had no fingers.
But if, say, we had someone who was writing about this battle 100 years later, they're what's known as a secondary source.
So I can only be a secondary source.
You could only be a secondary source, unfortunately. Unless you have a time machine, then you could be a primary source.
I'll get working on that.
You should. You're science. Do it. You can do it better than me.
Science!
With science! But yeah, there's a lot of interesting facts about it. So we don't have any primary sources to back it up, but it was a very well-known legend that when the French captured these longbowmen, they would cut off their index and middle fingers so that they wouldn't be able to shoot arrows, like you were saying. And they would then do the two-finger salute, the English, as an act of defiance against the French, saying, hey, ha, haven't gotten mine yet.
I will shoot you.
These are the things I will shoot you with. But unfortunately, we didn't have the primary sources, and it was very common at the time that if you were captured by the enemy forces, you would simply be killed. If you were a common soldier, because you had no value to be ransomed, and it cost money to feed you, so they were like, I'll just kill you. What's the point of mutilating you when I could just kill you and mutilate you later?
Yeah.
It all depended on the person, obviously, but it was unrealistic. But if you were like a nobleman,
would you send those fingers back to the family? You
could do that if you wanted to. They might be less likely to pay your ransom then. But
because you're 2 fingers short. They're like, we want the whole guy or none.
None at all. And the infection that would set in at that time period from chopping off someone's fingers would probably kill them.
Maybe that was their torture.
You're gonna die slowly of an infection. Ha ha! We've won again, say the Frenchmen in French.
Yeah.
Sacre bleu!
Baguettes!
Fromage! Oh, God.
French words I know.
Yeah, but the first evidence that we have that's not kind of like
shady.
Yeah, shady, weird. Because we historians, we like to know that shady information, but we also can't make claims about it. The first evidence we have of it, the two-finger salute, is in 1901. There was a film crew filming an ironworks factory, and an iron worker came out and used the gesture to tell them that he didn't like getting filmed.
I'm gonna walk into your film and then say, stop filming me.
Essentially, that's how that went. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't confirm or deny that because I don't have primary source information to back it up. But it's a very cool question.
We can assume it's true.
Yeah, we can definitely assume
I can assume it's true.
You can keep that deep in your heart.
I will.
Forever. You know, even when we're trying to unfilter something, there's some murky waters. We can't ever say yes or no.
Some things can't ever be unfiltered.
But you can bet that if you listen back on this podcast, time machines are invented. Yeah. We will make a good correction on this. We will say yes, there was a primary source. Her name was Kelsey.
Oh yeah, she did it with science.
She did it with science. You know, Stephen Hawking actually hosted a party where he didn't invite anyone to see if like time travelers.
He sent it out a day late for the day before. I was like, no one came, so no one's a time traveler.
But maybe they just didn't want to.
Maybe they didn't want to go to his party. Maybe his parties are pretty lame.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's like pretty presumptive of him. He's like, if a time traveler could go anywhere, they'd obviously come to my party.
They wouldn't be looking for the two-fingered salute source. They would be at his party. Obviously.
They wouldn't be like at the important events of history, like the fall of Rome or the, start of any of the wars or like anything. They would obviously go there.
Neapolitan ice cream.
They wouldn't be there for the Big Bang.
Oh.
Yeah. I got deep. Yeah, they wouldn't visit Hermie. They would just go straight to Stephen Hawking.
I probably want to see dinosaurs.
That's pretty far back.
Yep.
Can't you just watch Jurassic Park?
I'd like to go pet the little ones.
Pet the babies?
Pet the babies. But stay really close to my time machine so I can jump back.
Have you seen the show Timeless?
No.
It's a show about time travel, but they only go to events in American history, and it's kind of bullshit. I'm like, not everything important happened in America.
I'm trying to think of other things I'd go see.
Well, I know what I'd see, because I'm a historian. I would go to Henry VIII's court and see his palace and see if he was actually as crazy as people talk about. And I'd see if Anne Boleyn was actually as crazy as they talked about for her. And I'd probably go to the Battle of Bosworth, because that would be really cool to be there.
Just go to my own birth.
I heard that with time travel you can't...
I can't cross.
Future time traveler, gotta be at her birth. Can you be present at events in time where
I see myself?
Yeah. Would that mess up the time-space continuum?
I don't know. From Doctor Who, you can't touch yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I've learned.
Doctor Who is a pretty reliable source.
I think they did their time travel research.
I definitely think they did.
Yeah.
Except Moffat. Moffat didn't.
Except Moffat. Moffat was just like, I see what you guys have done, but I'm gonna do my own thing.
I'm gonna do my own thing that doesn't require research.
That doesn't require anything, because I made it up.
It's just me repeating the same ideas over and over again.
Yep.
That's called insanity, Moffat.
When you hope for a different outcome. Yeah.
We've gotten hella off track, but that's okay. So, for Kelsey's question, we're going to be talking about Joan of Arc. But before we do that, I thought I'd give you a little bit of background on the 100 Years' War.
Thank you. I need that.
Okay. So, the 100 Years' War started, apparently, because obviously there's different timelines, in 1337, and it went until 1453, which is more than 100 years.
Which is, I thought it was going to be under 100 years, and they were just exaggerating, but...
Yeah, they were just like, oh yeah, it was like 100 years.
It was 100 years.
It was actually more than 100 years. So they were underestimating, if anything. But there were like pieces in between where they had treaties, so... But the whole length of it was that long. And it was between the Plantagenet and the Valois houses. So Plantagenet were from England and Valois from France. And they were fighting because the Queen of England at that time, Isabel of France, was the daughter of French king, sister to two other French kings.
Oh.
And she had a son herself, Edward III. And when her brother passed away, she believed that the succession of the French crown should go to her son, Edward, instead of her, I think it was her cousin, because Edward had a more direct connection to the throne. But there is a thing in French monarchy through Salic law that says that women can't inherit the throne and can't inherit property unless there are no other male heirs, because life sucks when you're a woman in history. That's why everyone's like, oh my gosh, I'd love to live in Jane Austen's period. I'd love to live in this. And I'm like, and have no
rights.
No rights. No choice. Nothing. Yeah, that sounds great. So there's a specific term for it. I scoured the internet for hours. I emailed my old history prof.
I was there. I witnessed this.
It was very frustrating. I could not find the correct term for it, but it's something to do with not through the womb, but in French.
So it sounds cooler.
It sounds way cooler in French, that women couldn't inherit the French royal throne. And that is true. There was never a reigning French queen that wasn't like a queen consort, which is a little bit different. And I'll explain it another time. So, Isabel was kind of a giant badass. She was married to Edward II, and he... Obviously, we can't put our modern terms on past historical figures, but he had a royal favorite who was a man, and there are primary sources that the two were very intimate with one another.
Best friends. Yeah,
they were best buds. They were the best of friends.
They would go to hangings together.
They'd go to beheadings together, hangings. Okay. They'd have a jolly old time. They'd have sleepovers.
Share the sleeping bag.
Just bros being bros. The original bromance.
Yeah.
So, Isabel was kind of chill with this to start off with, and she kind of became friends with the gentleman that her husband was chilling with, and then he passed away, unfortunately. Oh. And then the king had to get a new favorite, who was another gentleman. And he was a bit more of an asshole.
Mm.
And he put all his family in important positions in the court, and Isabel was kind of tired of the shit at this point, so she went back to France and had an affair with a nice gentleman. And they were like, you know what we should do? You've got a son. You should just go, dispose of your husband. make your son the king, and then just make yourself queen consort, so that you can rule until he's old enough to rule on his own, and then you and I can rule together. And Isabel says, well, you're pretty good in the sack. Sounds like you're going to be pretty good at leading this country, too, and my husband's a giant asshole, so let's go.
And that was of England, the king.
This was a king
so
of England.
Plotting to kill the king.
Plotting to dispose of him, like depose of him, so, like, make him give up his crown, and then he was later murdered, supposedly.
Or just never seen again. Oops, I've fallen on this long axe.
So, oh no, how did that happen?
That cut off my head.
Some of the best ways of, like, royal people dying occur, like, in the, like, 13, 14, and 1500s. Like, one guy decided he wanted to get drowned in a barrel of wine, which is just...
Like, this is the way I go.
I go how I lived my life.
I've seen everyone else die of sickness, and just this is my time.
Well, he had, like, plotted against his brother, so that's why he... But they let him choose his type of execution. He's like, I've seen these beheadings, I've seen these hangings, I want to go in a barrel of wine.
That's pretty generous to allow someone to choose their death.
It was. He was a very benevolent king, that one. But anyway, so she managed to do this, and she got the lords in England to declare fealty to her son, Edward III, and she ruled with him until he was 14, and then he was like angry teenager, kind of done with his mom, and said, I don't want you and your gross boyfriend with me anymore. So she...
I'm an adult, Mom, leave me alone! Slams the door.
Essentially.
I can rule the country.
I know how to do this shit. So he had his mother's boyfriend executed.
Of course.
And then the queen got to live kind of in a little bit of seclusion. But she still got to stay at the
That'll
court until
teach
she
you,
died.
Mom. I'll kill all your boyfriends.
I'll kill
every single one.
You kill my dads, I'm gonna kill your boyfriends.
It's only fair.
Eye for an eye. So, but from that point on, there was always this kind of suspicion under everyone's, like, well, Edward does have technically a better claim to the throne than the French king. So all these battles started happening.
So we should be king of both places.
Yeah, because then you'll hold all this power. And up until serious point in English history, they owned more property in France than the French king did. Right? So they felt like this was the natural progression.
Yeah.
That they would just become the king of France as well as the king of England.
And eventually the world.
But for a long time, the kings and queens of England would refer to themselves as King of England and Wales and King of France.
Mm-hmm.
And they just took that title. Like, they were never crowned, but they were like, and
hey,
I'm
guys.
this now.
I've decided. No one else is doing it. I'm going to be the king.
And this is how I king it up. The best. So, all this was going on. There were lots of battles and such. And then, who comes on the scene but the person I'm going to ask you to talk about? Joan of Arc.
Yes.
Another prominent figure in the 100 Years' War. So tell me what you know about Joan of Arc.
What I know is based also, like most of my history, on Bill and Ted.
Okay.
So, she's French?
Yes.
Was a question. Maybe 12, 14? Was she older?
She's a little bit older than that.
16?
I believe so. She was a teenage girl.
Yeah, and she's like, no one's doing a good job here. No one knows how to fight. I'm hearing voices. People are telling me, and I know how to fight. Somehow she got into a place where people listened to her, and then I think she helped people win wars with all her, like, female acrobatics.
She did a backflip.
She's like, guys, why were you doing this the whole time?
Okay.
She introduced yoga.
Yes. Yeah.
And everyone just got so flexible. They were ready to win.
They got their chi and balance, and they were ready to go.
They became one with their swords.
Of course.
That's kind of my knowledge of
okay.
Joan of Arc.
What side do you think she fought for?
I'm going to say France. Just because she sounds
correct.
French.
Yeah, Joan of Arc fought for France. Now, do you think that she came kind of in, like, Beginning, middle, or end of the 100 Years' War?
I want to say end because maybe middle. Maybe she's like a turning point. I'm gonna go with middle.
Okay. You're pretty close.
I don't think she started the war.
It's closer to the end than the middle. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so she came on the scene in 1429, which is the war ended in 1453. So pretty close to the end. And at this point, the British were winning.
She's like, I don't like this, guys.
She doesn't.
I've been running the numbers. It doesn't look good.
A peasant farm girl in rural France, and she apparently started hearing the voice of God, who was telling her that she needed to rally the troops, go and see the Dauphin of France, who was like the heir to the throne, and tell him how to win the war, essentially. And, you know, this day and age, we'd say you have schizophrenia and put her in a mental institution. But back then, hearing the voice of God was like a big deal.
You were chosen.
You were chosen. It was a big, exciting thing, and people were more likely to believe you. Especially in France,
Cannot anyone just be like, God's speaking to me right now, guys. Oh, he's telling me I can't be beheaded. I need to run, do a bunch of God stuff. Catch you guys later.
I haven't seen too many people doing that. People back then were very religious, so
probably
in France,
pretty honest.
They would have been Roman Catholic, and generally, you know, saying that you heard the voices of God if you didn't was blasphemy. So generally, people didn't make those claims, or if you made those claims and they were considered false, like if someone figured out that it was false for some reason and you were lying, then you could get killed and then go to hell. And that's what most people were afraid of back then. Dying and going to hell.
It's a scary place.
It's a very scary place. And a lot of people died pretty young. So that was a very complicated religious thing that we'll cover another time. Because Roman Catholic religion is probably one of the most interesting religions. And they have so many crazy rules. So many crazy little things that you gotta do. But yeah. So she came in, she was hearing the voices of God. She's a teenage girl in France. So how does a teenage girl in rural France get to go see the Prince of France?
Does she date him?
It's like a bachelor type situation.
Like, I picked number 3. Joan of Arc.
Bachelor number 1. Would you say that you are in a position of power?
Yeah, I don't know. That's my best guess.
She dressed up like a man.
Oh.
Because back then, she Mulan the shit out of it.
Someone shows his short hair in the one picture I've seen.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't know exactly how she disguised herself, but, you know, back then, I wouldn't imagine it would be super difficult.
They'd recruit, like, all young boys, right?
Yeah, so she disguised herself as a boy so she'd be taken seriously, because if she was a girl and she went...
They'd laugh.
They'd laugh
or kill her.
Or call her a witch.
Oh.
Yeah, and do some bad shit. Even though her life turned out bad anyway in the end. But nevertheless, we'll get to that. So, she disguises herself as a boy, goes to see the Dauphin, and is like, yo, I've been talking to God. Me and him have been having a little chat, a little discussion, little instant message.
Yeah.
And he has told me that I need to go to this particular battle that's about to happen. I need to rally the troops. I need to lead them in. You need to come and, like, be at this certain location. And we're going to win this battle. And then you're going to get crowned King of France. And everything is going to be ballin'.
Everything will work out.
Everything will be amazing. The Dauphin was kind of, like, apprehensive at first. Who is this weird short-haired boy in front of me telling me he's
very high-pitched voice?
Who seems well endowed. I don't know what's going on.
I have very mixed feelings about this.
I'm maybe sexually attracted.
I'm not quite sure.
I'm not really sure where I'm at. But, yeah. So the Dauphin went along with it, according to all reports, and Joan of Arc was exactly what they needed, because she rallied the troops. They were, like, down in the dumps because they were losing this war, and she was like, guys,
go power! We can do this.
Yeah, she just started singing like a Spice Girls song.
Yeah, she's doing some cheerleading.
Yeah, and she like led them into battle, and they won the battle, and it was really exciting because like French hadn't won anything for a really long time.
These crazy girls know what she's doing.
And she kept leading battles, and the Dauphin eventually did become the king of France, but she only had this success for about a year, and then in 1430 she was captured by.
Did people still all this time think that she was a boy?
Yes.
Okay.
Most of them.
So when they capture the what? This is what we were expecting?
Yeah. There's mixed reports. Some say they did know she was a girl eventually. Some say they knew she was a girl the whole time. Some say
she's crazy, so her disguise isn't that good.
Some say that she was discovered when she was captured to be a girl, and that's part of the reason why she got the punishment that she did. So she was captured by Burgundy, which was it was its own country. It was technically in modern day France. And it had its own like ruler and everything. It had its own duke. And it was like
the Duke of Burgundy.
The Duke of Burgundy.
That's pretty badass.
It's a pretty cool title. And they kind of had some allegiances with England. And so they sent Joan to England and were like, hey, here's that girl that's been rallying all those troops in France. And they're like, what should we do? What should we do with her? She seems kind of crazy.
Cut off her fingers.
And it all comes back around. No, how do you think they might have dealt with a young girl who claimed that she was hearing voices?
Witch trial?
Yeah.
Oh, nailed it.
Perfect. And what did they do with witches?
I feel like a couple things. You'd either burn one or you drown one, because that's how you tell if you're a witch. If you die, you're okay. If you survive, then you're a witch and we have to kill you again.
But kill you a different way this time.
I'm just thinking of Monty Python.
Yeah.
Like, we'll build a bridge out of her. I'd say drowning. Or burning.
They went with burning.
Okay.
This particular time. And she was burned alive. And passed away. And soon after that, I forget how many years it took, she was made into a saint by the Roman Catholic Church.
So who won the war?
The French, technically. Because they regained most of their territory back from the British. And slowly but surely, even after the end of the 100 Years' War, the British slowly lost what little territory they had left in France. So, after 1453, there was another war that began in England called the War of the Roses, which is what my specialty in history is on, the War of the Roses. And so they were so busy fighting themselves that they couldn't fight the French anymore. And then as that was happening, France regained a lot of their territory. The only one they managed to hold on to the longest was Calais, which is right on the very, very tip at the top of the France and very close to England. But they ended up losing that under the reign of Queen Mary. Yeah. So there you go.
I know a little bit more now. I'm a little bit more wise.
You know a little bit more about the 100 Years' War.
I do. Well, and I knew nothing, so that's an improvement.
Yeah, so unfortunately, like, we can just say that the two-finger salute came from there, because we don't know definitively. But we also know now that the 100 Years' War included badass women.
Yeah.
Who took the throne, who led armies, who dominated, even though they weren't allowed to have their own stuff going on.
Also was Noah's wife, eventually, but...
Who was Noah's wife?
Because it's Noah's Ark. That's why I'm not in charge of history.
Oh dear. Yeah, we're not talking about the historical accuracy of the Bible at any point.
So she died when she was like 19?
18? I need to double check that. I obviously don't want to say anything inaccurate. I don't want our 6 viewers correcting me.
Oh god, that's wrong. Our one job.
Yeah, and speaking of which, we haven't gotten any shrubbery erotica. What
really
the hell's wrong with you?
I'll have to write my own. And
we're gonna read it on the podcast.
Really slow and sexual.
You've listened to Kelsey's sultry voice. You know what she's capable of.
It's just nasally and high-pitched and seductive at the same time.
It's like, oh God, what's his name? Who read 50 Shades of Grey?
Oh, Gilbert Gottfried?
Yeah.
Thank you. I love when people make that comparison.
I wouldn't say that's a direct comparison. Okay, well, we did it. Another episode
I think
done.
we can high five. Woo!
Woo!
That was exciting.
I think that slap got on the audio nice, so.
A nice crisp slap.
Nothing
of
like
full-fingered hands.
No fingers missing.
Not yet, anyway.
So now, next time you're in a car and someone cuts you off, don't just raise your middle finger. Raise your index finger,
have
too.
options.
You've got multiple options on how you're going to tell that asshole that they did something very, very wrong.
To let them know they're an asshole.
Exactly.
Which is most people's purpose in life, really, is so... I don't know where I'm going with that. We can cut that out.
I wish the viewers could see your face as you were, like, coming up with that.
Slowly going back into my shell.
You looked
I'm
in
lost.
physical pain. Alright, we still haven't figured out a sign-off.
Yeah.
But if you guys have any suggestions for future topics, we're at
Anything that needs to be unfiltered.
Anything that needs to be unfiltered at all. We're at historyunfilteredpodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to send us an email. We're also on Facebook at History Unfiltered Podcast and Instagram, History Unfiltered Podcast. Even though I haven't posted anything yet.
We might.
We might post something eventually.
Okay. Just peace out.
You can't see it right now, but we're gonna do the 2-finger salute.
Woo.
Peace out, gang.
Peace out.